Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Celtic Unrestricted View podcast. My name is Ryan Clifford, and join me in this guest episode of JP once again. Well, JP, if anybody's watching the YouTube on the live stream, we'll see also who's on the podcast with us. It's Hungarian football vlogger Botond. Well, JP, I'm looking forward to the interview with him, podcast with him. Obviously, anybody who does know Botond, he's got a YouTube channel, which obviously into more detail. He's watched a lot of Celtic games, traveling the world, doing vlogs on football. I'm really interested to hear his story, JP, and obviously interested to know why he chose Celtic to be one of his team of foes.
Yes, mate. It's great to be back on again. I missed you on Sunday, Ryan. A wee bit uncharted waters, not been on with you. It's good to be back on and seeing your smiley face again, mate. Two Ronnies are back together, as they say. But no, that's one of the reasons why I reached out to Botond, because I've seen quite a lot of his videos now via the YouTube, and I think he does have a very interesting story. And obviously what really caught my attention was recently, just back in February, he experienced a Glasgow. That's a nice jacket you've got on there, Botond.
Oh yeah. I just was about to show it. Yeah.
What caught my attention, was back in February, Botond attended our 3-0 demolition of the team across the water. So, and obviously, I think it was a great experience for him, which it probably would be for any outsider coming into that fixture. So no, that was one of the main reasons why I reached out to him, Ryan, as you know. And I'll let Botond come in and introduce yourself properly, and you can give us a wee bit of background knowledge to your kind of story and what got you into doing what you do in the first place, mate.
Yeah, well, I all started in last August in 2021. The thing I took part as a volunteer in like an organizing group of the Euro 2020 championship, and there I had some volunteer friends. And after the volunteer duty finished, I started to go to some football related places. And with some friends, we had a WhatsApp group, and I started to send in like 1-2 minute videos, and they started telling me it was actually not my idea to start a channel. They started telling me that I should start it, and to be honest, I didn't believe them that I would be good in it and I could bring a quality which would be worth for a viewer to spend time with it. But then eventually, when they told me like the 10th time, I figured everything out to how I'm gonna start it. And then I started vlogging. I was actually thinking ahead. That's why I started it in English, because I knew that I'll visit a native. I'm from Hungary. If you guys don't know yet, I'm from the Hungarian capital, Budapest. I'm living still here. I'm studying media and communications, and I'm in my final year. So as a hobby or work, whatever, I have it next to school. I have this YouTube channel. So I started vlogging my local club, Ferencváros, in English, and then I traveled abroad as well. And I also took part in the Europa League games, obviously. And one of our Europa League opponents, that's when Celtic comes into the picture. You were like you guys, the green and white, the biggest team from Glasgow in Scotland. It was Celtic who were coming here to Budapest. I think it was first it was at your place in Glasgow, 2-0, and then 2-3. We also met you a year before, but that was behind closed doors and also in the qualification. So main thing that back then, I don't know whether you know it, guys, but back then it was like, because of the COVID restrictions, it was pretty complicated, and there was no away support allowed, because UK is not a part of EU anymore. So even though pretty much the fans who traveled here, the away supporters, they got the ones I talked to, they got exactly the same vaccine as me, but they were still not, because of like administration, they were not allowed to get a ticket. They could travel in the country, they could go into restaurants and stuff, but it was pretty much a weird thing. So I helped some people who actually, one of them reached out to me through email to my channel to whether they can get tickets. So I helped them to get some VIP tickets, which wasn't a problem eventually for them to get into there. And then I got invited back for the Glasgow Derby, which would have been originally the 2nd of January, but then it got postponed. It looked as it will be held behind closed doors, but then eventually it was held in like a full house crowd, an evening game, which didn't happen. I think it happened last time in something like 2011 when it was in the evening, and since
ago,
that, so I was invited over for that. Then first it got cancelled, and then it got postponed to February, and it turned out that we are all able to go there and fill the stadium. So that was my first. It was not my first Celtic game, obviously, because the first was my local club, Ferencváros, facing Celtic. That's why actually back then some Celtic fans were only on my channel because of seeing your team win. Obviously, I supported my local club, but what everybody thought is that I was giving a fair and unbiased view in the analysis itself of the game. So obviously, in that manner, I think it's fair if you support a team if you still manage to remain unbiased. So there were some Celtic fans back then, and then I got invited to Glasgow, and it was a great thing because it was no pressure on me. I think I was just through my current exam period, and then could just travel as pretty much as a holiday to Glasgow and visit this game, which turned out to be not only a legendary game, but also a huge boost to my channel, because with Celtic 3-0 winning, taking over the lead on the SPFL table, the Premiership table, it gained huge interest. Also with the new signing Rio Hatate scoring twice, there was also a huge interest from Japan, and it got actually a quite big video on my channel, because it's still today it's by far the most viewed video. I have a bit more than 9k subs, and my second most viewed video is 63k, and this one is 240. So obviously what Celtic brought to my channel, such a boost, I'll actually never forget it. And I think the job I did for Celtic and the fans that day was also appreciated by the fans, because I managed to record all the 3 goals. I was there at certain places, visited the statue of Billy McNeil before, got some interviews with the fans. So tried to cover the whole experience, starting with me traveling in the morning to Glasgow, first to Edinburgh and then to Glasgow, because there were direct flights to Edinburgh. And then the whole match day experience, I was precisely behind the goal where all the 3 goals were scored. So it was pretty there were pretty many things to vlog, to be honest. I made the big mistake that I named the video like O star star F star star star, like the older name before Rangers died, as the Celtic fans would say. Then obviously at the next video, when I visited the Glasgow Derby, I wrote there like simply both of them and explained the whole story, because obviously Celtic fans like to or they only accept calling it Glasgow Derby. So that video is still called the other name, but now I'm educated pretty much. I should have done it before, but I wasn't aware of it. So, but main thing, the Celtic fans appreciated it, and I came there to Glasgow with 1,000 subs and left with 3,000, and with huge respect. So it was an excellent experience. I was a bit long to tell the whole story, but this is it.
I'm glad you redeemed yourself there, Botond, when you mentioned about them dying and being a new team, because you set yourself up there. In first incidents, when you brought up the Ferencváros turning us over at Celtic Park a couple of years ago and knocking us out the Champions League, but you redeemed yourself there by changing it to the Glasgow Derby. So you get some bonus points there. I could see Ryan's face starting to change there, just as you mentioned the fact that Celtic lost to Ferencváros. But no, that's obviously quite interesting, Ryan, isn't it? The fact that it's taken an experience like Botond's local team, Ferencváros. When we played them, I thought, when they beat us at Celtic Park, and I know that was a season where, after that, Botond, you'll probably know if you've checked this out, but Celtic were in sort of this, they started to go into disarray after that result. Their season just went from bad to worse, and it became a shambles at the end of it. Obviously, we were trying to get 10 in a row that season as well. Not making the Champions League that season just set the tone for the rest of the season. It really, really changed. I think it changed a lot of people's mentalities. The first derby we played, we lost 2-0. Again, everything was behind closed doors. So we never even registered a shot at goal. So the whole season, that season went from bad to worse. Sorry to bring it up again, Ryan. I just had to sort of mention that there. I know it's a bit of a sore point, mate. I don't want to really stick about in too much here. But it's quite interesting what Botond says. That experience, and then obviously getting the opportunity to come over. It's amazing how quickly someone's perception can very quickly change just by experiencing what Botond did that night in February.
I would say so, mate. Obviously, like down in England, people have the perception that even Rangers, Celtic, Rangers aren't big clubs because of the league we play in. And obviously, Botond's came to Glasgow, he's experienced the game himself, and we think it's the best derby in the world. It's the best atmosphere. It's everything in it. But for some from a different country to come and experience it and then kind of validate the way we feel, I think it's brilliant for us to know that, knowing that we're not talking out our arses, basically. We're not telling lies, we're telling the truth. And on the actual game, Botond, did you feel that did you sense that there was something there when you went in the stadium? Was it just tell us it's a special place when you walk in and it's as a Celtic fan, it's home. That's your stadium. But could you feel that day that it was going to be a special match?
It's difficult to say whether I felt it before because first of all, I was very excited and I experienced some great games before, but yeah, we have to know about Hungary that domestic football is something rather a negative thing and people don't get excited about it that much. They rather support the big clubs. I used to be the same because I'm not from a classic football family. My dad wasn't a Ferencváros fan. I just figured it out for myself, the preferences and so on. We used to go to national team games, but nothing else when I started to be interested in football. But back to that magical night in Glasgow, 2nd of February this year. When I walked in, I felt it will be something really memorable, but I had no idea what I'm going to experience. Basically, the thing is that we have the classic ultra section behind the goal here in Eastern Europe, which you have at the corner in Celtic Park. Is the same as ours, just behind the goal, and people are used to them doing all the singing and all the chanting. And the others are basically only spectators. But at Celtic Park, also obviously it comes with the team playing well. But at that night at Celtic Park, and I'm sure there were pretty many other games when this happened. But literally everyone was singing and shouting, and there were no fans of Glasgow Rangers in. Or should I call them? I mean, I have to have as a vlogger, I have to have respect for everyone. Obviously, everyone knows my preferences, but I just mentioned, so there were no fans on that night of Glasgow Rangers, but they have anyway only a really small section of 700 people since they started to cut the Celtic fans, and then Celtic cut it as well. So basically, the only thing that mattered, it was full of Celtic fans, and everybody was shouting, and that made me by far the biggest and best football experience, because it was unreal how loud it was. Even when I go to Barcelona, which is actually my childhood's big club, it's nowhere near. Also, I don't think in any. I haven't been to. I've been to English games, first, second, and third tier back in 2018, but what in Celtic Park was just simply. I can't really describe it with words. So one has to be there and experience it. Obviously, when, like you guys, I assume when you grow up in Glasgow and you're a season ticket holder from the age of 4 and you grow up in a family, obviously it's a way of life. So it's not like I become a Celtic fan at some point. I'm a Celtic fan all my life. While you local guys, you just grow into this and you kind of get used to you. Of course, you realize that it's a great atmosphere, but it wasn't an as big difference for you there as it was for me, because I just went there, and also the stadium, I realized that it's very good for atmosphere because it's close between the stands and the roof, so the noise just stays in there and just fuels the pitch the whole game. So obviously Celtic could have gone up I think in the first half an hour already 3-0, but then it was eventually before halftime. But the whole place was rocking heavily, and well, I almost get emotional when thinking back of it. And also, it was at night. Obviously, games in the evening, that's also a plus. Obviously, you can create a great atmosphere at the lunchtime kickoff, but it's pretty different. So yeah, I didn't feel it before that it's going to be that special, but after it, I just started to realize that that it's by far my most special game I experienced so far. And also, I forgot to mention before, it was great that I had, like, in a professional view, that I had an expenditure to my channel. But first of all, as a person, as a football fan, even if I wouldn't have been recording, like, I just remember that complete experience I had that day, and that's what made it. And not obviously the video reaching so many people gave a plus, but first of all, the core of it was the experience which I'll never forget, basically. Yeah.
See, when you're actually watching the game and recording, how is it hard to take in the game when you're recording, or do you hold it like with one hand and still view the game? How do you actually do it and actually take in the game and put out a channel to your audience, basically?
Yeah, so the thing is, I have a technique for that, because I want to be there as a fan as well. Obviously, I can't be there 100% in the game when I start to create the quality content at the same time, but I've figured it out how to be there like 90%. So the thing is, I film all my videos with my phone. I have an iPhone 11th generation, and I started to film with it. And I just have it in my hand always. I just click to the camera button, and the video button is always there. I don't record the whole game, so I'm not like standing all the way like this.
Yeah.
I just have it in my hand with the application like being on screen, and then I press play when there's a chance, or there's a support or something. So and then I find the right zoom ratio because if I'm filming like one zoom ratio and all the things are happening in the other end, nothing will be seen pretty much. But then I find the right ratio, and I just hold my phone in front of my face, but just like below it, just that I can see with my own eyes the action, and know that the camera, the picture which is capturing the game, is capturing pretty much all the action. So that's how I do it to be able to watch the game at the same time.
That is interesting, JP, that, isn't it? But that you can still put out quality content while still taking in the game, and especially a game like that game in February. For me, like, normally you take some videos or you take a photo. My phone was in my pocket. My phone was in my pocket, apart from the walk alone, etc.
Yeah.
That was a game where I can say that I didn't touch my phone for 90 minutes because I was so involved in the game. But obviously, JP, Botond's taking content for his viewers. He's got to be in that capacity. Obviously, he's watching the game, but he's got to bear in mind he's doing that for his viewers. But it is interesting, JP, that it's not just the females that can do multitasking.
No, it's definitely not just females that can multitask. I mean, I can fuck up about 5 different things all at one time, mate. Do you know what I mean? So it's definitely no females that multitask. No, it is very interesting. Obviously, like he says here, he wanted to be as a fan as well. And obviously then experience, but he's probably had a couple of wee practices of it now. So he's probably in, like, when he's there, he's in his zone, and he knows kind of when to do it, if and when, what a team's on the attack, or, you know, they're building up a bit of momentum and a bit of play on the park. Don't get me wrong, it's really good watching the video when it becomes the finished article, because I think the way he puts it together is really good. And his wee descriptions throughout the game as well, obviously, like what the result is, what the score is, keeping people up to date, because it's not always, you don't always see the score maybe up on the board. I know maybe Hampden, where Scotland are playing just now, the match against the Ukraine, they've got big boards up. They don't show you replays of the game, they just show you the score constantly throughout the game, and a lot of places don't actually do that. Like at Celtic Park, and Celtic score, you'll see the replay of the goal, but they don't show you that at other grounds. So yeah, it's pretty good that he's able to do both on a match day. I would imagine it would take a wee bit of practice if someone was looking to do it. I wouldn't like to to try it for the first time and, you know, stick it live straight away, because, like I says to you, I can multitask, but it's not the same way I'm multitasking that other people would think. About 14 things would probably go wrong in the first minute of the video. I'd probably fall off my chair or bump into somebody and knock coffee all over somebody else. And it'd be like an episode of Some Mothers Do Have Them. But no, it's pretty good. And obviously, I think he brings really good content to the viewers. When you were doing it, Botond, and you started to do, was it just simply right in at the deep end? Did you just one day did you get talking to somebody first to get you involved in it, or was it something you just went, I think I'm going to go and take in a game, and then, you know, I'll bring my phone out, record it, and see how I go? And what did you do? Did you have a practice first before you set up your page in order to see how it would work for you, or did you just like jump in at the deep end with it?
Yes and no, to be honest. I had an imagination how I'm gonna start doing the whole thing, but and I knew that I'm gonna record, but I wasn't planning on recording the goals. But when I went to the first game, I managed to capture both goals. It was here in Budapest, Champions League qualification, and I knew certain parts. I knew that I'm gonna do an introduction before about the teams, first and foremost to my local team, because that was the first video. And then I knew that I'm gonna do kind of a halftime summary, so I can analyze the game in halftime. I do it ever since I did it in every single of these 86 match day vlogs I published so far. And then I also knew that I'm gonna kind of summarize it in the end. But there were extra features which I added, which you guys also mentioned. For example, the scoreboard that came into the picture in the 12th match day vlog, if I'm correct, and also, yeah. When you look at the first video, I talked really slow. I was in this chair and I was like moving around, and I realized I have to get a stable chair. I got a stand for my phone also to be able to film properly. I got some advice from France as well. So it all developed. I had my own imagination, but my style developed, the vlogging and the content creating style as like the same moment as we approached certain games and as I got more experience. So I had the imagination, but I'm a lot more experienced today than I was in the beginning.
I think that's quite important, Ryan, to have that imagination before trying to set off in that type of journey, because technology, you kind of need to have a half of an idea of what you're doing, in my opinion. To, especially when you want to do vlogs, to give a bit of detail in terms of what you want to do. Now, regardless of what that may be, if it's Manchester United, Celtic, Ferencváros, Sturm Graz, any other team, you would need to know a bit about their backstory in order to start off with your vlog and have like an intro, a middle, and a sort of summarisation towards the end. But obviously then, Botond, in that specific video in February, decided to add in his also journey. So he added in a bit of his flight, his bus journey from Edinburgh to Glasgow, and then obviously it pops up, he's in Glasgow, he's at Celtic Park, the Billy McNeill statue. So there was a bit of kind of backstory knowledge, and obviously a bit of homework done from Botond's end. I think that must be vital as well. You must do your homework. You can't do something like that if you're not going to. Before you started doing them, Botond, did you, obviously with the Ferencváros connection and meeting Celtic a couple of times over the last couple of years, prior to that, did you know much about Celtic, or have you just learned recently?
I knew some things about Celtic, but far less than now. First and foremost, I knew only that I knew that you guys kept winning the titles, especially when Rangers were down, and but I didn't realize that you actually marked them dead. That's the first thing. I also didn't know about the the religious and like the country identity. I wasn't aware of that thing, although I could have read myself, but I wasn't so experienced that like Irish and British and against each other and so much like historical rivalry and hatred. I wasn't aware at all. And but to be honest, if I would have read about that, I also would have thought that I have to experience it like live to feel the whole thing, to feel the atmosphere, and also to kind of feel the hatred, because it contributes to these games so much. So I knew some things about Celtic. I had the shirt as well because my cousin studied in Glasgow, and he brought me like a vintage jersey from not an original one, but from this one of these vintage jersey shops with the Celtic cross in it. So not the clover yet, but the like 20th century jersey. I'm thinking about what else I knew. I knew that you won pretty much like that both teams of Glasgow won pretty much every Scottish first tier seasons, and only a few seasons apart from that were won by other teams. I also knew that the Celtic Park is can create hell of an atmosphere, and I also mentioned in that intro you just mentioned before that I captured my whole journey. It was back then part of it. Obviously, when I kept on with all when the vlogs really kept going, and I traveled to a lot of countries, and after a time I skipped all the flight and stuff, but back then I didn't approach that stage yet, so I just documented the whole journey. But I mentioned in the intro that Celtic Park is extremely loud. I think that's it. The green and white team of Glasgow, and the Euro. I think I knew about the European Cup as well, but I have to say I know much more, and I'm really glad to having been part of it, or kind of be part of it as a natural supporter or as a vlogger, whatever. Obviously, it's a controversial thing to be a vlogger, to be honest. But for me, studying media, I want to be engaged in sports media in the future. So obviously, as a fan, but also as a kind of professional, it's really good. So compared to what I know now, I knew pretty much very very little about Celtic before.
And obviously as well, recently you were at the Shakhtar game as well. And I actually watched a video of that, and the Celtic fans, as we know, it just looked absolutely crazy when Celtic scored. What was your opinions on Celtic? Obviously, as a football fan, how did you feel Celtic played? And obviously, when you were filming, how was the atmosphere and the Celtic fans? I'm guessing that must have been a special atmosphere as well to have that for your channel as well.
That's right. I was really glad to, even as I know that it was an away game, to be there, because I was near to the Celtic fans. It was in the home section, but I was surrounded by Celtic fans anyway. Obviously, it was Shakhtar Donetsk, a Ukrainian team. They can't play in front of crowd in their own country. They can play their games at home in like the western parts, which where isn't pretty much the fights aren't there anymore. But they have to play behind closed doors. But still, it's in Warsaw, so there were obviously not that many fans. So it wasn't that. I mean, it was almost sold out when I looked on the map when I bought a ticket, but I could still get one. And obviously it's not their home ground, so so when they had no organized support, but Celtic had one obviously, and I was really close, and when Celtic fans shouted during the champions, when they waved the Champions League ball in the middle of the pitch, it brought me a bit of Celtic Park feeling, because it reminded me that all those people shouting at the same time, and I was literally full of goosebumps, and I really like to recall that moment. And also the goal, it was absolutely crazy, and obviously it can't be compared to Celtic Park, where 60,000 people are screaming for Celtic at the same time. But it a tiny bit of that feeling was brought back that night, and I was quite disappointed that the lads didn't make it count in the end, because there was a period in the game Celtic started absolutely well, but then it just turned when Shakhtar got that quick counter. They scored the equalizer, they scored another goal which was disallowed because of offside, but then Shakhtar were better in the closing of the first half. But then in the Celtic in the second half, it was once more Celtic, and we could have scored 2 more goals in the end. So I was really disappointed, but support wise, the first 20 minutes also at the goal, it reminded me a bit of Celtic Park, and it was a very good feeling, and it was excellent. And I just felt that I want to experience it 1,000 more times in my life if it's possible.
I think JP, like Botond says, he's experienced a home game following Celtic, and not following, but videoing Celtic, and then away game, and he's kind of getting the same feeling. And for me, like when you go to away games in Europe and home, it is the same feeling. It's even, but it doesn't matter if you score in Scotland or you score in Europe. You're still jumping up and down, coffees everywhere, pies everywhere. It's everything's the exact same, and I'm just glad that people, JP, like Botond, vloggers, there's other guys out there that do it as well. I'm happy that they're actually seeing the club like that, that experience it as for themselves, because we can only tell people that how good it is and how good it is going away abroad with Celtic, etc. And especially in the Champions League, when that song comes on, it's for that 30 seconds, a minute, it is goosebumps. It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's one reason why I love running the Champions League, because you cannot hear the anthem because of the crowd. But I don't know what you think of that, JP, but I'm glad that more people like Botond are actually seeing this firsthand, instead of just us telling people about it. Actually been able to experience it themselves and then tell people, by the way, you need to go and see Celtic, or you need to follow the fans, because it's not really I wouldn't say it's a once in a lifetime experience, but it's something that I think as a neutral, even if it's Rangers at Ibrox, or even down south, maybe, I don't know who's good down south, Newcastle, but teams like that, it's maybe good to go to an atmosphere like that once in your life, just to see a different aspect of football.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely will. What certainly does help, Brian, is the manager that we have at the moment, and Ange Postecoglou, because we are playing an attractive brand of football now. And that's 2 games now we have played in the Champions League. Okay, we don't have a lot of points, or we've not scored as many goals, but both teams that we've played now, their managers have come out and says they're a proper side, talking about us. I mean, we held Real Madrid for 60 odd minutes at Celtic Park. A lot of our play off the ball, closing down our energy and the legs we've got in our team now. We forced Real Madrid back away. We had to make them think, and we worried them momentarily in the game. We worried them for spells of the game with really good chances. Like I said before, mate, they took their 3 really big chances they had, whereas we didn't. Botond's brought it up just there as we were speaking about the Shakhtar game. It's a game that we should have won comfortably. We did have a spare in the game where they scored the equaliser, where we kind of dropped off it for about 10, 15 minutes of the first half. But after that, I thought we were really good. I thought we played some really good football. I thought we're actually playing elite football just now, and we've just not had that wee bit of luck to get that sort of end result with it so far in the Champions League. So having that, tobying in with the club's history, what the club stands for, the size of the club, the stature. A lot of guys, when you go abroad and you speak about Celtic, a bit like maybe Botond before, probably knew bits and bobs about the team, but didn't really know the scale of it. It's a bit like our players when we sign guys from foreign countries that come. They maybe have heard of Celtic, but when they get there and they see the Goldfish Bowl that they're involved in, and then they see what Celtic's pulling on this jersey and what it stands for, and obviously what you're playing in front of week in, week out, it gives people a rude awakening as to, geez, this is massive. There's an expectation and there's a constant bubble that follows you. Mm-hmm. It's different for us, Ryan, because we're born into it.
Yeah.
Our parents have brought us up into it. We've become accustomed for we were like kids into it. But when you're not involved into it properly, and you then become involved by either going to a game or even like seeing a game abroad, if Celtic have travelled, you go and watch them there. Our travel support have been well renowned all over the world. We got a fans award when we got to Seville in 2003 for the most best behaved team on the road. I think we got a similar award just for one of the tifos that won it, we had, and it was all across Europe. It went, but anywhere we go, we're well spoken about for the right reasons, not for the wrong reasons. And any person that wants to, that's into football, that maybe lives abroad, or if they're watching any Botond stuff, or it's an atmosphere they have to experience. It's definitely got to be on what I would say your bucket list is. You have to. I mean, look at Botond sitting with a jersey on. Maybe about a year ago, Botond probably wasn't a proper, Celtic fan, but it's gripped a hold of him as soon as he stepped into it. He's found out a bit about the club, the backstory. Then he's liked what he's seen on the pitch. He's liked what he's seen from the stands, and it's just grabbed a hold of him. And that's what a club like Celtic does to you. It grips a hold of you. It pulls you in, and you want more. You crave more. So I'm not surprised, Ryan, to be honest, because, like I say, I would put a message out to anyone aspiring to go to a really good atmosphere, probably a good day out. For you or your family or anybody that's wanting to experience it, at least do it once, because there you go, he's now been a couple of times now. I don't doubt he's probably going to be looking to do it again in the near future if he can, while Celtic are still in the Champions League. So yeah, I'm not really surprised, Ryan, to be honest with you. But it's goosebump stuff. You're right about the Champions League tune as well. It's you start shaking as well as everything else in the stadium does. It's as if the stadium lifts itself off the ground when that happens. It's just a noise. It's a noise that you can go anywhere in the world. In my opinion, you'll not hear that noise ever. And you look at all the other TV highlights, the beginning of the games, Champions League, when it starts shaking, a lot of the grounds don't even make a noise. Mm-hmm. Whereas whether we're home or away, our fans are screaming when that is happening and the Champions League tune is playing. But no, I'm not surprised that Botond's now became a fan, because that's what it does to you. That's what happens when you find out about the club. We're a club open to all, and we've got really, really big affiliations with all sorts of nationalities. All you need to do is look at our team. There's a big mix of cultures in there, and a lot of different nationalities, and how quickly they have gelled together as a team under Ange has been nothing short of a miracle, in my opinion, right?
I would agree, mate. Like Botond says and you've said, mate, we're brought up in it. You're told by your parents or you've seen your friends, and you end up, like Botond says with Ferencváros, he took it on himself. It's kind of back here. I think it's getting more involved now. Your parents kind of basically tell you that's a good team, that's a bad team, this is who you're supporting. But in terms of when you're travelling, Botond, and seeing different, again, I know you've been to Germany and other places, is every atmosphere all different? Obviously, Celtic for me is top, but I've been to Germany a few times watching Celtic, and I feel Germany's a good atmosphere. Is there any other games that's kind of stood out to you? You've vlogged or been in the cities? Any cities that stand out for the atmosphere on match days?
Well, to be honest, Celtic is far up top with all the atmospheres. I haven't been outside of Europe yet. I've vlogged several games. I think I've vlogged 86 games out of a total of 200, because the Shakhtar Celtic was the last game I visited. It was exactly number 200 for me, because during high school I was more engaged in playing amateur football myself, so I didn't visit that many games. Didn't have the money for a season ticket here at Ferencváros. Obviously after it I started to be part of it, but Celtic in Celtic Park at night or even during the day, because I was there once more against also against Rangers, the 1-1 game in the championship round, which obviously Celtic won the 52nd title, not that day, but shortly after it. Yeah. But the night game obviously was also because the result was a lot better. Even though I can't complain the lunchtime kickoff game either. I don't know how it was the 4-0 game because I missed that. I regret it pretty much, but you guys tell me because you probably were there both games, right? So which the better atmosphere was? I don't know which was it for you, but you can answer it afterwards. But for me, things which I could compare or like, let's say, close to it or 75% or maybe 50 if I experienced like 50% of the atmosphere of that night in February, I go home as a really happy person, and I know that it's going to be an excellent stuff to put together as a vlog, because Celtic was that night was so high up top that even the half of it gives me goosebumps, but only thinking about that night it's really mental. So it's up top, and which I would kind of compare being 70 or 75% of it is Hungary against France 1-1 for me. That was excellent, although that was more of sentiments, I think, because our national stadium is 67,000, actually the same as 67 is a dear number to you, right?
Yeah.
It's a bit bigger than Celtic Park, but it's open between the roof and the stands, so it's harder to create a great atmosphere. But that place was also jumping when we drew against France in the Euros, and when we drew against Germany recently in the Nations League. We scored in the 6th minute, and it was really an excellent atmosphere. Also,
you should have beat France that day, Botond.
Yeah,
you should have beat them. I watched the game on TV, and it was you were really good that day, really good.
Thank you very much.
Was it the boy who plays with Leipzig, Sabosloy? It was him that scored the goal, wasn't it, for you?
He didn't play the Euros. He was injured, unfortunately.
Oh no, he wasn't. It was did he score against Germany?
No, it wasn't him either. There were two wing backs, actually, both goals against France and against Germany. I mean, there are two games in Germany. In the Euros, we played away against Germany and drew 2-2. I wasn't there, unfortunately, because I was at the home games here in Budapest. But the other one that was recently, now in June, I think 12th of June or something like that. That was Nations League 1-1 against Germany just before we beat England 4-0 away. That's also.
It was England game. He scored against England, didn't he?
No, he didn't score against England either. He was brought off, but yeah, but I mean,
get your stats going, JP. Come on.
I remember seeing him scoring recently for Hungary, and it was a cracking goal. And I can't remember who the team was now.
He scored several free kicks. He scored a penalty against. He scored against England in the first game. You were right about that, because they won against England at home.
That's the one I'm thinking.
Sorry, Matt. Yeah, then you were right. So he didn't.
I should just be back that now to see that now.
he didn't score the 4-0 game, but he scored the 1-0 game. He scored the goal to give us the victory. But back to it, this Hungary-France 1-1 was close. It also the recent game here at Ferencváros against Turkish champions Trabzonspor 3-2. It wasn't a full house because there are very, very expensive tickets, and Hungarians can't really afford. But despite it not being a full house, there were like 17,000-18,000 in a 22,000 capacity stadium. But after we got a red card when being 1-0 up, and then we still scored 2-0. That was really mental. And then we went 3-1 to the halftime and conceded only one in the second. I mean, we conceded two, but the second was given away because of VAR. So the place was really, really jumping, but it's still nothing compared to Celtic Park. I was in a derby in the German 3rd division, which was a cracking game. I don't know what I don't think you know. There is. Yeah, I mean, I have a scarf. I don't know whether this logo says anything to you. This is like a German 3rd division side from the Ruhr Valley, Essen. It's like it's next to Dortmund and Schalke. Like Schalke is from another town, Gelsenkirchen.
Right. Okay.
So anyway, it's there, and I got invited there as well because somebody, another content creator, discovered my activities. So he brought me there, and I took part as an away supporter in a cracking away derby against Duisburg. You probably know that team because they were higher up.
Duisburg,
yeah. MSV, and
we also signed one of their old players years ago, Botond, Lubo
Right.
Moravcik.
Right. So yeah.
Lubo
So they
Moravcik played for Duisburg.
Great. I didn't know this particular fact, but it's also great to get informed about. So they played them away. They were 2-0 down, then they equalized 2-2 and almost grabbed the victory, even though it looked like more like 3-0 when they were 2-0 down. So that was also a cracking thing. That like the toilet was broken by the fans after. It was crazy. So that, but I said I was interviewed there as well, and I said it was near to Celtic. I said that was like kind of somewhere between 50 and 70% of that experience of that experience in Celtic Park. So one Europa League game here, one Euro 2020 game, and this German derby is something between 50 and 70% of that night in Glasgow. But it's still so high up. If you look at the views, it's the same gap. So these are the games which are in my head to kind of compare. But compare is a very strong word. I can't praise it enough. Or high enough because it's just so mental. So I don't know when there are going to be another Glasgow derby in the dark or any. Actually, the Champions League games could be pretty much the same. Obviously, you lost against Real Madrid 3-0, as you mentioned before. They took pretty. I was watching the game from home, and they took pretty much the 3 chances they had. But if Celtic would beat Shakhtar or Leipzig at home, I bet that would be pretty much the same experience for you guys, or perhaps for me, but I don't think I'll get there, but anyone who gets there. So yeah, that's it. Amazing, and really nothing compared to it. Only between 50 and 70%, as I said.
Me personally, a Celtic fan, JP, I think it's very hard to compare it, obviously, because we're here and we see it every week or every second week. But I do like what Botond does. He travels places. Obviously, he's creating content, but he's actually seen different cities, different atmospheres, and that must be good as well, JP, to obviously get more knowledge about different cities and cultures in the club, and actually seeing different standards of football as well, not just obviously in Hungary's Ferencváros. He's not just watching Ferencváros every week or us with Celtic. He's actually seen football for a different avenue.
Yeah, definitely. You said there, different types of football, different. Again, it's all different cultures. Learning about different clubs, different maybe different levels, different ways of doing things. Obviously, different fans. But he's right. Nothing compares to us. I'm afraid. I'm going to be biased and stick my neck on the line there and say we are the best fans in the world. There's nothing compares to what we can bring to a football match. And that's not just... I personally don't think it's being biased, to be honest. I think you only have to do a bit of research and you would very quickly see the same conclusion if you weren't blinkered enough to not believe me, or if you went and actually had done a wee bit of research, you would see that, you know, I wasn't joking or I wasn't kidding, because I think we're a great bunch. We're probably very easy to get on with as well. Wherever we travel, whenever we go away, even at Celtic Park. You've seen it when Barcelona came round before, their fans outside the stadium. They've done it recently with Real Madrid fans. The guys are swapping jerseys with people. Real Madrid fans giving kids jerseys of Celtic fans, vice versa. Scarves getting traded back and forth. It's always really nice to see. There's not very many places you can go to, and you see that happening. All you have to do is look at the last time Leon visited Glasgow. Their team bus was almost destroyed over at the other side of the city. So it shows you where, in my opinion, where the mentality lies with both sets of groups. We would welcome you into the pub with us and, you know, buy you a drink rather than want to destroy your car or your bikes or, you know, things that you maybe have outside, or your bike helmets or your, you know, I know you're laughing now, but you know what I mean. It's became a well-known fact here in Glasgow, Botond, that, you know, one side is different from the other. Just because we we do things differently. The way both sets of fans operate are totally night and day. And that's why I think we're not just the best football team, but we're also the best group of fans. And that's quite astonishing, because Botond, you were here in February. That team across the water and the other team from the derby, they went on and they got to the Europa League final. So, and in my opinion, they are nowhere near Celtic's level. So you think to yourselves, how do Celtic not, you're probably thinking that, as an outsider to that, you're probably thinking, how is Celtic not, we're a better team than them, in my opinion. So, and that now you can see that there is a gulf between two teams from that night. And then obviously the recent visit to Celtic Park, we took 4 off them. And again, that was going on anything Celtic would have wanted it to be that day. The same as the Rangers goalkeeper that night. When you were there in February, he kept the scoreline from being really embarrassing to what it also finished. And in my opinion, Celtic took their foot off the pedal in the second half and reserved energy for the other games that we had coming up. As you said as well, it was a big thing as well, because mentally, I think that sort of destroyed Rangers domestically, because Celtic then leapfrogged them at the top of the table that night, and Celtic never really looked back. They went to Ibrox after that and they won 2-1. I know they beat us in the cup, and then the next return to Celtic Park was a 1-1 draw. But really, it took them until extra time as well to beat us in the cup, where a lot of our players by that point were really dead on their feet, because they'd put a lot into a season where Celtic were in a massive transition in terms of bringing in a new squad and putting them all together. But yeah, no, as I say, I think it's good, mate, that you've experienced it, and you're obviously now. Is it safe to say that you are a Celtic fan now? I know you're probably not good into your locals in Budapest, because they'll think your Ferencváros should come first, but obviously Celtic's kind of gripped a hold of you. And so if Celtic, I'll put a question to you, Botond, if Celtic and Ferencváros were playing tomorrow, who would you be rooting for?
Sitting in the middle.
Shut it down right now. I think even Celtic fans appreciate an answer that I say, that I would root for my local club. Obviously, Celtic, as you said, grabbed a hold of me, and they are really, really close to my heart. It's obviously different, so I didn't grow into it. I would perhaps consider if I would be living in Glasgow for 5 years and I would be a season ticket holder constantly. But now I'm very sorry to disappoint. Now you have to shut the video down. So I would still root for the green and whites of Budapest from the 9th district. But apart from these two meetings, it would be pretty much Celtic for me.
Well, I'm afraid, folks, that's all we've got time for.
No invitation, no more invitation, right? It was once a lifetime for you guys. You're never welcome again.
I think we can understand that. Obviously, your local team, you want your local team to do well, and you've kind of brought into that eventually. So it's obviously that's your team. That's right. You want your team to do well, and overall for the future, Botond, have you got any more, just to end the podcast, have you any more plans to go different countries and obviously see Celtic again? And again, it's been good to speak to you, mate, but overall for the future, is more travelling going to be in your way of thinking?
I think I should avoid muting my microphone, because I don't find a way to get it back properly. So you mean like when I plan to be back at Celtic Park? Is that the main, or when I plan to watch Celtic again?
Just overall in the future, what shot are you kind of doing? To travel more to Celtic and abroad, and kind of, is there any countries that you've not done that you want to do as well?
I have pretty many plans. It's really hard to realize as because I'm still a student in the first place, and I didn't manage to get I mean, I get revenue from YouTube, and I invest everything back to the activity to be able to travel more and more frequently. But in the first place, I'm still a student. I'm a final year student, so hopefully I'm gonna get my degree next June, and it will be different. But I'm still like just below 10K subs, and I need to grow my channel a lot in order to be able to do this full time. But I have plans indeed, apart from Celtic, because once I got involved in Celtic, then pretty much Celtic is going to be the team I'm going back to Britain for, and especially to Scotland for. But apart from that, I have Sweden as a heavyweight of the channel. I go there frequently. It wasn't the same story. It wasn't a different story, because I just got a random promotion email that there are cheap flights there, and then was all of a sudden there was a midweek game, so I could just go there, and then all the things started. I have a team in Sweden as well, who I'm basically favoring below others, but pretty much went to all the three big football cities, Stockholm, Gothenburg, and Malmö. I went to all those places, and I gained quite a great interest to what I do. So I'll be back there soon as well, and in Germany as well, because there was a time when I only accepted invitations and went there. Now I'm only also about planning and discovering different places. But now I had some other invitations to Germany, which you guys are probably glad to hear that I'll be probably back at St. Pauli, which is a great friend of Celtic, probably for the derby. It's not sure yet, but I think I get a chance, because I have a contact there for a ticket, so that's really good. Apart from that, probably an Austrian derby, because that's near to me. I'm also planning on Poland, as not only going there for watching Celtic, but perhaps some domestic games as well. But what I'll carry on is Sweden as a heavyweight, because they are that's kind of a sure market for me to go there, because it's not I'm interested in top divisions, but I'm rather interested in football cultures where there is not top quality football, but there are top quality fans. I think that's what's worth vlogging, because fans are what fans are. The people are making the football, not the level of football. You can play top level of football behind closed doors. You won't get anything close to that experience, that community experience. It's not only about going to the game and experiencing the atmosphere. Obviously, it's 80% of it, but the rest is like chatting before and after, and just living the community spirit, especially when traveling to a game abroad. So without fans, it would be pretty much nothing. So that's why I prefer Sweden and Scotland as leagues where it's not they're not one of the top 5 divisions, but they're really top quality fans, straight up top in Europe. I probably won't go will not go to France and Spain, because people don't, only a few times, because people don't tend to or really care about English content there. So you also have to have an open-mindedness. Obviously in Scotland it's mother tongue, but in Sweden or in Scandinavia everybody spoke it. Germany is somewhere in between. I know German as well, but because of the profile of the channel, it'll be always in English. So yeah, Italy maybe, but as for now, my main focus is two things. First of all, not first of all, because both are important, Sweden and being back at Celtic. So Sweden, pretty much every big team, and Celtic. So that's what I'm trying to do now. I have limited options, because the World Cup starts in the middle of November. It will be also great to take a rest, but I also have to think about time and energy and stuff like that. I would also like to discover some of the Eastern European cultures around. I'll probably go to Serbia, because my favorite team will play there in the Europa League, but that's also an option. I think I said I was pretty long with my answer, but that's it basically.
No, that's fine. It sounds like you've got a big enough bucket list for yourself, mate.
That's right.
Obviously, football's a big thing for you, so it's massive for us. And we love what me and Brian especially. We love watching not just Celtic. Obviously, we love watching all different types of football. A bit like yourself, you don't really just watching one team, you don't really learn a lot about the game until you see many different cultures, many different teams, many different ways of doing things. So yeah, it sounds like a good list you've got there. I have seen a couple of your videos. You've done a couple of the Hammarby games.
That's right.
Recent one there was the Hammarby and Stockholm derby. I've seen that. I've seen the one you done with Hammarby and June Gardens as well. So it's pretty interesting. It's good obviously what you're doing. It's also really good that you mentioned that you're coming back to see Celtic again as well. Because once it grips a hold of you, it's hard to let it go, mate.
As soon as I get the possibility, I'll be back. I can.
Well, you've got the uniform on, so you're always welcome back through the doors, mate. And as I say, but it's been really good speaking to you, mate. It's been really good to have you on. Is there anything you want to put to Botond before we go, Ryan?
Yeah, well, basically, as you've just put it across there, mate, it's been good to chat to him. And also, Botond, just to let anybody know, where can they get your content, and how do they actually get to view your content? Is there any websites and obviously YouTube, etc.?
Yeah, YouTube is the main platform. I got myself a pretty simple name, easy to remember. It's Hungarian football vlogger. I'm from Hungary and I'm a football vlogger, and I didn't really think much. It's not much fantasy in it, but on the other hand, it can be easily remembered. And YouTube is my main platform. It's there with the a big, a black circle, white letters, HFV, and 2 Hungarian flags above and under it. I didn't think it through, just edited the logo in Word. So that's it. YouTube is my main platform. But other than that, I'm also on Instagram, pretty active, and also on Twitter. I also have a TikTok, but I don't really post there a lot because I don't get the energy. It's the last in the picking order. But on Instagram and on Twitter, I'm also pretty active to spread the word about the activity and perhaps gain some more people to the channel. But YouTube will always be the first. Obviously, that's where I get my revenue, and that's how I can travel. That's it. And also, sorry guys, I'm also very thankful for the invitation. So any other time you've got mind to have a chat together, I'm always open to talk about Celtic. I like to do it a lot, and also professionally, it always contributes to my skills, and I'm really happy to every invitation and every new person to get to know. So and especially if it's about Celtic, it can be better. So thanks a lot for the invitation as well.
Yeah, that's great, mate. We'll definitely keep in touch. Obviously, I'll be keeping an eye on your future videos. I've also subscribed to your page as well, so if anybody else wishes to do that, then feel free. But don't forget to subscribe to our page if you enjoy our content as well, guys. Just click your wee bell, and obviously you'll get a live notification when our page goes live. Sorry, Ryan, I think I've just stole your thunder there with that one. First night back, I know I took a night off on Sunday, and I think I'm running the show now, but no, as I say, anybody that enjoys the content that we do, please feel free to subscribe, and as I say, you'll get a notification when we go live. We're also on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Myself and Ryan are on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook as well, so you'll find us there. Anything else you want to add, Ryan? Sorry, mate, I'll just stole your thunder.
No, that's us for this episode. Again, it's been good to chat to Botond about his vlogging, obviously Celtic, get to know about what he does and his content, and obviously JP, good to talk to yourself as well, mate. But that's us for tonight's episode. But again, everybody knows where to get the content for Botond. But again, both of them will keep in touch, and again, good luck for the future, mate, and a big hail.
Hail to you, mate. Cheers for